For May-June 2025, paper 2, variant 2. All right, we will start from question number 1. In this question, they are saying which instrument is most suitable to determine the volume of a small irregularly shaped stone. So basically in this question, they are asking to determine the volume of an irregular object. Like for example, if I have a stone, that's volume is irregular. So how we will determine its volume? So first we will take a measuring cylinder and we will fill the water in this measuring cylinder at known amount. All right, so it will be the initial volume of water. Then we will lower this irregular stone in this measuring cylinder so the water level will rise up. All right, so it must be the final volume of water. So what we will do, beta, we will subtract the final reading from initial reading to find the volume of an irregular stone. Exactly. So C is the right answer, that measuring cylinder is basically used to determine the object. All right. So now let's have a look on question number 2. Assalamu alaikum students. We are solving May-June 2025 paper 2 variant 2. Look at the question number 2. In question number 2, they are saying a steel ball is dropped from the top floor of a building. Air resistance can be ignored. So when the object is falling from a certain height and air resistance can be ignored, so it means that object will fall with constant acceleration. Like this is ground and the object is falling from a certain height. All right. So now students, air resistance can be ignored. So this line is very important. So whenever no resistive force is acting on the object, so it means that object is falling only because of the gravity. So it means the object is in free fall. So we can say here that the acceleration of the object is equals to gravity and object is falling with constant acceleration. All right. I'm repeating, beta, object with constant acceleration. Velocity is increasing. All right, velocity is increasing with constant rate, but there is no resistive force which is acting on the object. So it means that the object is falling with constant acceleration. So A is the correct answer. This is the concept of free fall. Free fall means when the object is falling in space, in the, you can say, where the air resistance is negligible, air resistance is ignored. So it means object is falling just because of the gravity. This phenomena is called free fall. So A is the correct answer. All right, A is the right answer here. Okay. So now students, let's move towards the next question, question number 3. In this question, they are saying the diagram shows the velocity time graph. What is the acceleration of the object? So you can see we have a velocity time graph and we have a straight increasing line and they are asking to find the acceleration of the object. So how we will find the acceleration of the object? Those students who have joined late, let me tell you that we are solving May-June 2025 paper 2 variant 2. All right. Right now I am discussing question number 3. We have to find the acceleration of the object. So देखिए बेटा, what is the formula of acceleration? Acceleration is V minus U upon T. So we can find the acceleration by finding the initial velocity and final velocity or time. Or we can use the formula of gradient because gradient is equals to rise over run. So with the help of velocity time graph gradient, we can find acceleration. So you can see when the time is 0, initial velocity is 20 meter per second. And when the time is 40, final velocity is 120 meter per second. So this must be the initial velocity, this must be the final velocity, and the time duration is 40 seconds. So now students, I am writing here acceleration is equals to V minus U upon T. Final velocity is 120. Initial velocity is 20 divided by time is 40. So 120 minus 20 will give us 100 divided by 40. So what answer we are getting, students? 10 divided by 4. What answer we will get, beta? Exactly, 2.5. We are getting the acceleration 2.5 meter per second square. So it means the students B is the correct answer. All right, B is the correct answer. Did you understand this question, students? Okay, let's move towards the next question. Question number 4. In question number 4, they are saying diagram 1 shows a piece of flexible material that contains many pockets of air. Diagram 2 shows the same piece of flexible material after it has been compressed so that its volume decreases. So you can see this is a piece of flexible material. It has elasticity. So it means that before compression, its shapes look like this. All right, well done, Ahmed. Now you can see when the air is, this object is compressed so that its volume has been decreased. Now we have compressed the object. What happened to the mass and weight of the flexible material? तो देखिए बेटा, flexible material mass will not change. Flexible material mass will not change because when before compression, after compression, obviously number of atoms will remain same. Size, the amount of matter will remain same. So how the mass can be changed? Obviously the volume has been reduced. Well done, Inaya. Volume has been reduced, but obviously the mass will remain same because the number of atoms in this material will remain same. So mass will not decrease, change. Mass will remain same. And according to the formula of weight, W equals to mg. So if the mass is not changing, and obviously gravity will remain constant, gravity is not changing, so it means that there will be no change in mass and no change in weight. So it means, students, D is the correct answer. Well done, Suresh. D is the correct answer. All right. If they talk about the density, so we can say here the density of this the object can be changed because the object has been compressed now, so its volume has been decreased. But now they are talking about the mass and weight, so there will be no change in mass and no change in weight. Okay, let's move towards the next question, question number 5. In this question, they are saying a student determine the density of copper. She has a rectangular block of copper. So now you can see the student has the rectangular block of copper. All right. Which other apparatus did she need? So first of all, to determine the density, we have to know that what is the formula of density. So the formula of density is equals to mass upon volume. So it means if I want to find the density of this copper block, so I need to find the mass and I need to find the volume of this copper block. So mass we can determine the mass with the help of a balance. All right, we can determine the mass with the help of the balance. Well done, students. So it means that they have given us the key as well. That tech means that we need the balance or we need the other apparatus as well, and cross means not needed. So obviously we need a balance to determine the mass. So it means that you can see all in the balance column, all the options have tick. So all the options could be a correct answer, but obviously we need only one option. Now we have to determine the volume. Volume. And you can see it's a regular object. It's a rectangular block. So we can find the volume by using the formula length into breadth into height. So it means we need to measure the length, and we will measure the length with the help of the meter rule. We will measure the breadth or width with the help of the meter rule, or we will measure the height of this rectangular block with the help of the meter rule. So students, it means it's a regular object. Regular object volume can be found by using the geometrical formula. All right. So it means we need the ruler. So we need ruler, we need balance. All right, we need ruler and we need balance. So D cannot be a right answer. But obviously we don't need a stopwatch. We don't need thermometers. Why do we use the stopwatch and thermometer? So students, C is the correct answer. C is the correct answer here, that we need only balance and a ruler to determine the density of this copper block. Well done, everyone. Now let's have a look on question number 6. And question number 6, they are saying a 0.15 kg mass is suspended from a vertical spring. So you can see this is the spring, all right, and a mass of 0.15 kg is hanged with it, all right. The mass is pulled downward until the spring has extended by 12 centimeter from its unstretched length. So now we are pulling the mass downward. All right. And now the spring is showing the extension of 12 centimeter. All right. The spring constant of the spring is 30 Newton per meter. All right. So the spring constant, it means the spring constant is represented by the letter K and its value is 30 Newton per meter. Now they are asking what is the magnitude of the initial acceleration of the spring when it is released? When it is released. So it means that we have to find the acceleration. We have to find the acceleration. So how should I solve this question, students? Uh, we can find the acceleration by using the Newton's second law, F is equals to ma. Newton's second law is F is equals to ma. So mass is already given, that is 0.15 kg. We have to find acceleration. To find acceleration, student, we need to find the resultant force first. Are you understanding, beta? Because this F is the resultant force and we are pulling the block downwards. So we can find the force here by using the Newton's law, sorry, Hooke's law. F is equals to Kx. We will use this formula F is equals to Kx to find the force here. So F is equals to K value is 30. All right, acha, now there is one interesting thing that the K value is given in Newton per meter and extension is given in centimeters. So these are the mismatch units. So what we will do, beta, we will convert the centimeter into meter. And how we will convert it? We will divide it by 100. So 12 divided by 100. So now students, use your calculators and tell me that 30 multiplied by 12 divided by 100, what we are getting? 3.6. Well done, students. So we are getting 3.6 Newton is the force which is applied on this object. All right. So that's why it is showing the extension of 12 centimeter. Now, student, obviously there is a weight of the object as well. All right. This was the force which we are using to pull the object. That is 3.6 Newton. And the weight of the object is also here. And what is the formula of weight? W is equals to mg. Obviously, the mass is hanging on it. So it means that the weight is applied on this object as well. So now we will use the formula W equals to mg. Mass is 0.15 kg. Well done, Suresh. Gravity is 9.8. So now students, 0.15 multiplied by 9.8. So can you people tell me what we are getting? 1.47. Well done. So we are getting the weight of the object 1.47 Newton. 1.47 Newton. Acha, dekhiye beta, Inaya, this F is basically the resultant force. Resultant means the sum of different forces. So one force which we are applying on this object is the force of pull. That's why the spring is showing the extension of 12 centimeter. So when you will pull this object, so it means it is showing the extension of 12 centimeters. So obviously when you will remove this force, so the object will move in the upward direction with the resultant force. All right, Inaya? So the resultant force will act in the opposite direction. And there is one more force which is the load, which is the weight of the object. So weight is acting in the downward direction. Acha, now you can see if you are applying this force, if you are pulling this object in the downward direction, so in the reaction, the opposite force will act on the spring. So now we can consider here that the weight is acting in downward direction, that is 1.47 Newton. And this 3.6 Newton is acting in the upward direction. Because if you are pulling this object, so obviously the object will move. When you will remove the force, the object will move in the upward direction. So now students, this force is acting in the upward direction. To find the resultant force, what we will do, we will subtract two forces because these two forces are acting in the opposite direction to find, as I told you, this is the resultant force. This Newton's second law, F is basically for the resultant force. So to find the resultant force, we will subtract two forces. So 3.6 Newton minus 1.47 Newton. So what we will get, students, after subtraction? 3.6 Newton minus 1.47 Newton. What we are getting? 2.13. 2.13 Newton is the resultant force acting on this spring. So it means this spring is moving in the upward direction with a resultant force of 2.13 Newton. So now we have to calculate the acceleration. So we will use the Newton's second law, F is equals to ma. So resultant force is 2.13, mass is 0.15 kg. Now we have to calculate acceleration. So this question is little bit lengthy. So 2.13 divided by 0.15. Well done, Aiza. So what we are getting, students? We are getting the acceleration 14 meter per second square. देखिए बेटा, in this question, basically, when we will remove this force, so the spring is moving in the upward direction. If the spring is moving in the upward direction, so first the spring need to overcome the force of this load. That is 1.47 Newton. Then the spring will move upward. Are you understanding, students? So it means that spring will overcome this force, then it will move with the resultant force in the upward direction. So that's why we are subtracting both forces. So students, A is the correct answer. Did you understand this question? Did you understand this question? All right, excellent. Now I am moving towards the next question, students. Question number 7. देखिए बेटा, few questions are easy and few questions are challenging. All right. Now, question number 7. In question number 7, they are saying a cricket ball of mass 0.15 kg is moving at a speed of 30 meter per second. So mass of a cricket ball is given, speed is given, that is 30 meter per second. The diagram shows a batsman holding a bat stationary as the ball hits the bat and bounces back at the same speed in the opposite direction. So now you can see the ball will collide with the bat and then the ball will move in the opposite direction. The table shows the change in momentum of the ball and the magnitude of the force applied to the ball. Which row is correct? So we have to find the correct row and the time of contact between the bat and the ball is also given. All right, so how we will solve this question, students? We have to find the change of momentum. So how we will calculate the change of momentum, students? So you can see the mass of the ball is given 0.15 kg and initially the ball is moving towards the right side with the initial velocity of 30 meter per second. Alright, and after colliding with the bat, the ball will move with the opposite direction with the same velocity. With the same velocity, it is also 30 meter per second. But what is the problem here, student? That the direction of velocity is opposite. If the direction of velocity is opposite, so it means we have to use the opposite sign here. I am using the negative sign here because the ball is moving towards the left side. For the left side, we will consider the negative sign. Alright, so now we have to calculate the change in momentum. So what is the formula of change in momentum, students? Delta P is equals to mv minus u. So now, students, mass of the ball is 0.15 kg and final velocity is minus 30 minus initial velocity is 30. So change in momentum is 0.15 multiplied by minus 60. So now, students, multiply both of them and tell me what answer we are getting. 60 multiplied by 0.15. So we are getting the answer minus 9 kg meter per second. Minus is indicating that the change in momentum of a ball is towards the left side. Just give me 1 minute, students. So you can see answer can be C or answer can be D. Now we have to calculate the force applied to the ball. So what is the formula to calculate the force here, students? F is equals to delta P upon T. Alright, delta P is 9 and time of contact between the bat and ball is given 1 into 10 raised to power minus 3. So now divide both of them and tell me, students, what value of force we are getting here. 9 divided by 1 into 10 raised to power minus 3. So what we are getting? 9,000. Excellent, students, 9,000. So what answer we are getting? You can see force is 9,000. Change in momentum is 9. So it means, students, D is the correct answer. D is the correct answer. Have you understood this question, everyone? Beta, we are solving May-June 2025 paper 2 variant 2. Alright. Now students, I am going to clear the screen and I am moving towards the next question, that is question number 8. In question number 8, they are saying a stone is thrown vertically upward at a speed of 5 meters per second. So what we are doing, students, a stone is thrown vertically upward at a speed of 5 meters per second. All of the energy initially in the kinetic store of the stone is transferred to gravitational potential energy. All right, when the stone reaches its maximum height. So basically in this question, students, when the stone is thrown upward, so it means that the initial energy of the stone was in terms of kinetic energy. 1 minute, students. So we are discussing question number 8. A stone is thrown vertically upward with a speed of 5 meters per second. So initially the stone is launched with a kinetic energy. All right. But when the stone will reach at maximum height, so the energy stored in the stone is gravitational potential energy. Now they are saying which equation gives the maximum height reached by the stone. So we have to calculate the maximum height. So it means that all of the kinetic energy of the stone is transferred to gravitational potential energy. So now we can say here, students, that the kinetic energy is equals to gravitational potential energy of the stone. So now we have to calculate the maximum height, and only the thing which is given is speed. And we know that the student that the value of gravity is constant, that is equals to 9.8 Newton per kg. All right. So now we can use the formula of kinetic energy here, that is equals to half mv square. And the formula of gravitational potential energy is mgh. So now students, we have to calculate h here. So we will make it independent and mg will be moved towards the left side. So now we will get 1 over 2 mv square divided by mg is equals to h. Now students, this m and this m must be cancelled. Okay, well done beta. Let me check the answer. So now what is remaining here? H is equals to V square divided by 2G. So we are getting this formula, students. V is basically 5. 5 square divided by 2 multiplied by 9.8. So well done, students. We are getting C is the correct answer. All right. C is the correct answer, students. 5 square divided by 2 multiplied by 9.8. C is the correct answer. Acha, in this question, what is the important factor here? That we are ignoring the air resistance, because no air resistance is acting on the stone. So that's why all of the kinetic energy is converting into gravitational potential energy. But if the air resistance will act on the stone, so it means that the some energy will lost in terms of heat energy to overcome that air resistance. Is it clear to you, everyone? Now, let's move towards the next question. Question number 9. In this question number 9, this question is very easy. They are saying 3 energy resources are listed. Number 1 is geothermal energy. Number 2 is wind energy. And number 3 is nuclear fuel. Which resources get their energy from the sun? Exactly. Well done, everyone. D is the correct answer, because wind is caused just because of the uneven surface temperature of Earth, and the temperature changes because of the sun. So it means that this is the only source of energy which is because of the sun. But nuclear fuel geothermal energy is not involved with the sun. So it means the student D is the correct answer. Well done, everyone. Now let's have a look on question number 10. A sample of a substance has a shape that is determined by its container. What are the possible state of this sample? So it's a very easy question, students, because we know that liquid and gases are the only states of matter which can transfer itself into the shape of the container. All right, like if I fill the water in the jug, so it will take a shape of jug. If I will fill the water in the tub, so it will take a shape of tub. And the same thing happens with the gas as well. So it means that the gas and liquid are the only state of matter which can change its shape with the shape of the container. So B is the correct answer. Now let's have a look on question number 11. In question number 11, they are saying a stationary smoke particle is hit by a fast moving nitrogen molecule. Okay. Which row describe the motion of the smoke particle and of the nitrogen molecules after the collision? So basically, we have to determine the motion of smoke particle and motion of nitrogen molecule after the collision. So smoke particles are moving in random direction. All right, smoke particles are moving in random direction. A stationary smoke particle, they are saying a stationary smoke particle is hit by a fast moving nitrogen molecule. So initially smoke particle is at rest. All right, and the nitrogen molecule, students, you can see the smoke particle is at rest and the nitrogen molecule will collide with the smoke particle. So it means that when the nitrogen molecule will collide with a smoke particle, this is nitrogen molecule and this is a smoke particle. All right. So when it will collide with a smoke particle, so the nitrogen molecule will transfer its momentum to the smoke particle. So the smoke particle will move in random direction and beta the nitrogen molecule will move in the opposite direction. Okay, after colliding with a smoke particle, because smoke particle is bigger than the nitrogen molecule, so the nitrogen molecule will move in the opposite direction. So well done, everyone. A is the correct answer, that the smoke particle will move because the nitrogen molecule will transfer its momentum to the smoke particle and the nitrogen molecule will rebound. So it means that A is the correct answer. Now let's have a look on question number 12, students. A bubble of gas rises from the bottom of a lake to the top. Okay, so this is the lake and this is a bubble which is rising from the bottom of a lake to the top. The table shows the reading of the gas pressure inside the bubble and volume of the bubble. The temperature of the water lake is constant. The value in 3 rows of the table are correct and 1 row is not correct. So we have to identify which row is not correct. So we have to identify the incorrect row, incorrect statement. So how we will identify beta? So we are given the relation between pressure and volume and temperature remains constant. So it is all about the gas laws, students. We know that the pressure and volume are inversely related with each other. And when we will remove the proportionality sign, so we have to use the constant here. So now I'm using the constant K here. So P is equals to K upon V. So PV is equals to K. So if we are using the same air bubble, so it means that the air inside the bubble will remain constant. So air inside the bubble will remain constant. So it means that this K will remain constant for 3 options and it will be different for one option because the gas will have a same gas constant. All right. So what we will do, beta, we will find the product of pressure and volume for each option. So for 3 options, we will get the same constant value and for one option, we will get the different constant value. So we are able to identify that one is the correct answer. So let's solve for one by one for each option. Like for option A, pressure is 360 kilopascal and volume is 2.4. Now multiply both of them, students, and tell me what value of K we are getting. 360 multiplied by 2.4. 864. Acha, I didn't convert the kilopascal into Pascal because for all options we will take the kilopascal. So K value is 864. Now student, let's solve for option B. Pressure is 270 and volume is 3.2. So now again multiply both of them and tell me what value of K we are getting. 270 multiplied by 3.2. Again, we are getting 864. Well done. Now, let's solve for option C. In option C, the pressure is 160 and volume is 4.6. Now, again, multiply both of them. 736. Now, this one is different value. So, we are getting the different constant value here. So, it means the student C is the correct answer. All right, C is the correct answer, student, because the K value is different. Did you understand this question, students? Now, let's move towards the next question. Well done, beta. Question number 13. In question number 13, they are saying the diagram shows a flask, glass flask sealed with a small volume of mercury in a glass tube. So now you can see this is a glass tube, this is a flask, and this glass tube contains a small volume of mercury. When the flask is gently warmed, the mercury rises up the tube. Okay, so mercury is rising up. What is the main cause of the movement of the mercury? So we have to identify the main cause of the movement of mercury. So it's a very easy question, student, that okay, most of the students are saying D and most of the students are saying A. Mercury will expand. देखिए बेटा, we are heating the flask here. All right, students, we are heating the flask here. You can see the flask is gently warm. So when we will heat up the flask, so it means that the air inside the flask will absorb the heat energy and air will expand. All right, air will absorb the heat energy and air will expand. So when the air will expand, so the air level will rise up. So it will push the mercury in the upward direction. So the mercury is not expanding, beta, because we are not heating the mercury. We are heating the flask. So because of the heating of the flask, the temperature of the air will increase. That's why the volume of the air will increase. So if the air will move in the upward direction, so it will push the mercury. So it means, students, A is the correct answer. That expansion of the air in flask. All right, everyone. Okay, let's move towards the next question, question number 14. In question number 14, they are saying that diagram shows the equipment used in an experiment to determine the specific heat capacity of a metal. So we are determining the specific heat capacity. Well done, students. In the experiment, heater is switched on for T seconds and the increase in temperature is delta theta. The of a block of metal is measured in degrees Celsius. Heater power is PW. A heater power is P basically, which is calculated in watt. Mass of this block is in kg. Which equation gives the specific heat capacity of the metal? So देखिए बेटा, specific heat capacity equation is energy divided by m delta theta. Delta T basically, and T is the change in temperature. So we are using the delta theta here. But how can we determine the energy supply to this metal block from the heater? So we will take the energy in terms of electrical power. So energy is equals to power multiplied by time. So now we can replace this energy by power into time. So we are getting power multiplied by time divided by m delta theta. So it means, students, B is the correct answer. All right, specific heat capacity is equals to Pt divided by m delta theta. All right. So it's a very easy question. Let's move towards the next question. That is question number 15. In question number 15, they are saying that diagram shows 4 rods. Each rod is made up of a different metal. So you can see the rod P is made up of brass. Rod Q is made up of copper. Rod R is made up of iron. And rod S is made up of silver. Wax is used to attach small metal balls at the end of the rod. So we are attaching the small amount of wax at the end of each rod. Each rod is of the same size. They are heated uniformly by a Bunsen burner at point X. So we are heating each rod from this point and wax is attached at the end point of each rod. So obviously they all are conductors, so they will absorb energy. And they are saying as the rod warm up, the wax melt and the balls fall off. Why does the ball on the silver rod fall first? So basically, the ball wax will melt first in the silver rod. So that's why the ball will fall first. So silver is the best conductor of heat energy or worst conductor of heat energy, students? Obviously, if the ball is falling in the silver rod first, so it means that the heat is transferred rapidly in the silver rod. So that's why the wax has been melted and the ball will fall first. So it means, the students, silver is the best conductor of heat energy. So that's why ball will fall first. So it means, the students, A is the correct answer. All right, A is the correct answer. Now, let's have a look on question number 16. In question number 16, they are saying three solid copper spheres X, Y, Z are heated to the same temperature. So, there are three solid copper spheres X, Y, and Z. So, this is sphere X, whose diameter is 2D. All right, and it is made up of color black. And the another sphere is Y, its diameter is D. It is made up of white color. All right, and the other sphere is Z. Its diameter is 2D, and again it is made up of white color. Now they are saying which row gives the order for the rate of emission of radiation. Rate of emission of radiation we have to find. So highest rate of emission. So देखिए बेटा, black color is a good absorber of infrared radiation and it is the good emitter of infrared radiation as well. So it means that the black color will radiate more heat of radiation, more infrared radiation, because black is a good emitter of infrared radiation as compared to white color. So it means the student's answer can be A or answer can be B. But now we have to compare the second and the lowest as well. Second highest rate of emission. Second highest rate of emission. So now you can see the size of the sphere Z is greater than the size of sphere Y. So it will emit more radiation. So now students, you can see the second highest rate of emission is of Z and the lowest emission rate is of Y because of its smaller diameter. So it means the students, B is the correct answer. All right, everyone. B is the correct answer. Did you understand this question, students? All right. Now, students, let's move towards the next question. But I'm starting the new meeting, so you can join the next meeting for the new question. Okay, join next meeting, students.